Some of my favourite moments in video games happen when I'm not actually doing anything the game asked me to do. I'm not following the objective marker. I'm not completing a quest. I'm not trying to level up. Sometimes I'm just walking. And strangely enough, those can end up being the moments I remember most. Walking through a forest because I wondered what was on the other side. Climbing a mountain because it was there. Following a river without knowing where it went. Stopping somewhere just because the view looked good. There was no reward waiting for me. No achievement popped up. I didn't unlock anything. For a few minutes, I wasn't trying to accomplish anything at all. I was simply wandering around. And I think gaming could use a little more of that. Modern games are very good at telling us what to do. There's usually an objective somewhere on the screen, a marker on the map, a quest in the journal, a waypoint showing us exactly where we're supposed to go next. And I'm not complaining about that. Those things are useful. I don't necessarily want to spend 45 minutes searching for somebody I'm supposed to talk to because the game gave me terrible directions. But something interesting happens when a game constantly tells us where to go. Eventually, we start looking at the marker instead of looking at the world. The beautiful forest becomes something we're running through because the objective is 800 meters away. The mountain becomes something we need to get around. The little path disappearing into the trees becomes irrelevant because our quest marker is pointing in the opposite direction. We're technically exploring this enormous world, but we're following directions the entire time. And sometimes, I think we're missing the best part. One of my favourite things in an open world game is finding a path that clearly isn't where I'm supposed to be going. Maybe I'm heading toward an objective and suddenly notice a trail disappearing into the woods. And immediately I start wondering, where does that go? Now logically, I should probably continue toward the quest, but I'm probably not going to. I'm taking the path. And sometimes there's something at the end. Maybe a chest, maybe a small cabin, maybe an enemy camp. Maybe some little environmental story the developers tucked away. But sometimes there's nothing. And I'm starting to think that's okay too. Because the reward wasn't necessarily what I found. The reward was wondering what I might find. That's exploration. Not checking icons off a map. Not clearing every question mark. Just seeing something in the distance and deciding, I'm going over there. I think we sometimes forget how extraordinary video game worlds have become. Think about how much work goes into creating a forest in a game. Someone designed those trees. Someone placed those rocks. Someone decided where the path would curve. Someone worked on the lighting coming through the branches. Someone created the sound of the wind, the birds, the water, the footsteps underneath your character. Entire teams of people can spend years creating these places. And then we sprint through them in 30 seconds because there's a mission waiting on the other side. I've definitely done it. I'm sure most of us have. But when you slow down, you start noticing things. You notice how the environment changes as the day gets later. You notice little trails you've probably walked past 10 times. You notice buildings in the distance. You notice animals wandering around. You notice the sound design. You notice that the world isn't just scenery between objectives. It's part of the game. Sometimes it's my favourite part of the game. There are certain games that understand this incredibly well. Breath of the Wild is probably one of the best examples. You can have an objective sitting there on your map, and then you see something strange on top of a mountain. So you start climbing. Halfway up the mountain, you notice something else. Now you're heading toward that. Then you find a shrine. Then you spot another interesting place from the shrine. And suddenly the thing you originally planned to do has completely disappeared from your mind. An hour later, you're on the other side of the map wondering how you got there. And I love that. The game isn't dragging you through the world. The world is pulling you through the game. There's a huge difference. One feels like following instructions. The other feels like curiosity. I think there's another reason wandering around in games appeals to me. Gaming has become surprisingly productive. We talk about completing games, clearing our backlog, getting achievements, unlocking everything, reaching the end game, maxing out characters, finishing battle passes, getting our money's worth. Sometimes we even talk about games using the same language we use for work. I need to finish this. I have to get through my backlog. I should probably complete that before I start something else. Need, have to, should. Those are strange words to use for something we're supposedly doing for fun. What happens if we remove all of that for an hour? What if tonight you load up a game and don't accomplish anything. Don't finish a quest. Don't chase an achievement. Don't worry about progression. Just pick a direction and walk. You might be surprised by how good that feels. When I think back on games I've played over the years, I don't always remember the big moments. I don't remember every boss. I definitely don't remember every quest. Sometimes I don't even remember much of the story. But I remember places. I remember standing somewhere and looking out over a landscape. I remember discovering a little village. I remember walking through forests. I remember finding somewhere that felt peaceful. And what's interesting is that many of those moments weren't important to the game at all. There wasn't a cutscene. There wasn't dramatic music. Nobody told me I'd reached an important location. It was important because I found it. That's something video games can do that very few other forms of entertainment can. A movie can show you a beautiful place. A game can let you discover one. Here's something I started doing more often: walking instead of running. It sounds ridiculous. Games give us sprint buttons for a reason. And when the next destination is far away, obviously I'm going to use it. But sometimes I'll deliberately slow down, especially when I'm somewhere I've never been before. I'll walk through a town, walk through the woods, walk along the beach, and the game immediately feels different. You hear more, you see more. The world suddenly feels bigger. There's something about constantly sprinting through a game that turns the environment into a blur. You're always trying to get somewhere else. Walking changes the question. Instead of, how quickly can I get there? It becomes, what's here? And I like that question much more. There's another thing we've almost completely eliminated from modern gaming: getting lost. And again, I understand why. Being completely lost can be incredibly frustrating. Nobody wants to spend their evening running around in circles because they can't find the entrance to a cave. But there's another kind of getting lost. The good kind. The kind where you know roughly where you are, but you're not quite sure where you're going. That's different. That's wandering. And some games are wonderful at creating that feeling. You head into the woods. The path disappears. You climb over a hill. Suddenly, you can see somewhere you've never been before. And now you've got a decision to make. Turn around or keep going. I almost always keep going. I don't think the size of an open world is what makes it good. We've reached the point where games can create enormous maps, but bigger doesn't automatically mean better. For me, the best open worlds are the ones that make me curious. What's behind that hill? Can I reach that island? Where does this river go? What's inside that building? Can I climb that mountain? Those little questions are incredibly powerful because nobody assigned them to you. They're your objectives. The game gave you a world, and your curiosity created the quest. That's probably my favourite kind of exploration. There are also games I return to without really wanting to play them in the traditional sense. I just want to visit. Maybe I haven't played the game for months. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. I've forgotten half the controls. There might be unfinished quests everywhere. Doesn't matter. I load the game, walk around for a while, maybe collect a few things, explore somewhere, watch the sun go down. Then I turn it off. I didn't make any meaningful progress, but I enjoyed myself. And isn't that the whole point? A game doesn't always need to provide a challenge. Sometimes it can provide a place. There's also something freeing about accepting that you're probably never going to see everything in a big game. And maybe you're not supposed to. Every hidden cave doesn't need to be discovered. Every collectible doesn't need to be collected. Every corner of the map doesn't need to be uncovered. There can be places you never visit, things you never find, secrets you never discover. Because knowing there's more out there makes the world feel bigger. The moment I turn exploration into a checklist, it stops feeling like exploration. Now I'm cleaning up the map. That's a very different experience. And there's nothing wrong with playing that way if you enjoy it. But personally, I'd rather miss a few things and keep that feeling of discovery. Maybe that's really what wandering around in games represents. Playing at your own pace. The game might be telling you that the kingdom is in terrible danger. Someone urgently needs your help. The villain is preparing to destroy everything. And meanwhile, I'm picking mushrooms beside a river. I'll save the kingdom eventually. Probably. But right now, I want to see where this path goes. And that's one of the wonderful things about games. We don't always have to experience them at the pace the story suggests. We can create our own rhythm. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes focused, sometimes completely directionless. There's no wrong way to enjoy your time in a game.
So maybe the next time you're playing an open world game,
ignore the marker for a little while. Don't look up where the best equipment is. Don't search for the fastest route. Don't worry about whether you're making progress. Find something interesting in the distance. A mountain, a forest, a building, a river, a road you've never taken. And go see what's there. Maybe you'll find something amazing. Maybe you'll find absolutely nothing. Either way, you'll have gone somewhere because you wanted to. And in a medium that's becoming increasingly filled with objectives, markers, achievements, challenges, and things demanding our attention, there's something wonderfully simple about that. No mission, no checklist, no destination, just you, a world, and whichever direction looks interesting. Because games don't always need to be something we accomplish. Sometimes they can simply be somewhere we go.